Welcome back to Rev Hi-Fi. I'm Mike Walsh again, and today I have with me Oklahoma City's own progressive metal masters, Brea. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Y'all are on the road, right?
Yeah, we just got back. We're a little tired, but we're still doing good.
So where were you?
We were in what they call Spa City, Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Excellent.
It was a really awesome experience for us. So.
Well, very cool. Well, on today's episode, what I'm going to do is I'm going to review the Sansui 3000a and also Opeth's great acoustic mellow album, Damnation. But before I get to that, I'm going to talk to these guys a little bit. So, tell me a little bit about Brea and a little bit of its history.
The best way you described it was the progressive metal band. We've tried to narrow it down to other subgenres and stuff, but we figured out it really doesn't work for what we do. We've been a band for a year now as this lineup.
I was in April as last.
Yeah. So it's been about a year with us. The three of us, Mikey, Adam, and I, played together. About 6 months before that or so, about a year and a half before that, with a few other arrangements, lineups, and stuff like that. But since we found John Reed here, we really consider ourselves Brea at that point. So
very cool. Speaking of the lineup, you guys care to introduce yourself? Tell me what instrument you play.
Yeah, I'm Russ. I play guitar and yell at a microphone.
I'm John. Most people call me Reed. It's my last name. So I play guitar.
Okay.
Adam, play bass.
I'm Michael. I play drums.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, what kind of inspiration brought you to play this kind of music?
Like I said, I like progressive music, I like Tool, and Intronaut. I think we all like Russian Circles. I mean,
and Opeth, as your review's going to be later, definitely.
For me, it's Rush, Yes, Cynic.
Yeah.
I dig all those old 70s bands like that, and I listen to a lot of jazz too, and just a lot of freestyle type stuff.
Right on. Well, very cool. Well, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way and tell you all about the Sansui 3000a. When we come back, we'll talk just for a few more seconds, and then we'll get on to the Opeth review. Stick around. I have a real soft spot for Sansui. Like Sanyo, RCA, Philips, and many other second-rate companies, Sansui gets an unfair bad rap these days. Don't get me wrong, the stuff that has come out over the last 20 years that bears the name Sansui is for the most part garbage. But in their heyday of the 60s and 70s, only names like Pioneer, Marantz, and McIntosh overshadowed the mighty Sansui. Even their low-end models, like the 331, have incredible sound. The model I have here today is the 3000a, debatably one of their finer solid-state offerings. The Sansui 3000a is 45 watts per channel at 8 ohms. It has a phono, tape, and auxiliary input, and A and B selectable speaker channels. One of the standout features is the ability to control bass and treble separately for each channel. Also one of the high marks for this receiver is its fine array of options for FM reception. It has an FM mono setting, a stereo setting, and an automatic select, all accompanied by an advanced multiplex FM circuit that in its day was unreal for distortion control from the tuner. I love this receiver. Like I said before, it rivals the sound and warmth of the greats. There is, however, a downside to collecting this receiver. It was rushed to production in the late 60s, and a bit of the circuitry was badly designed, forcing Sansui to release a very important modification for the main amp output. Without this manufacturer-recommended mod, this amp was known to cause larger woofers and speakers to actually catch fire. Luckily, I have two of these and can show you here what the mod looks like. And here what it looks like without it. If you do happen to find one of these, don't let the fact that it might not be modded scare you away. The service bulletin for the modification is readily available online, and the parts necessary are not hard to get. If you get one in good working order, you will not be disappointed. And like most of the great Japanese receivers from the height of the hi-fi age, the Sansui 3000a will make your record sing clearer and warmer than any of today's sad digital nonsense. The Sansui 3000a. All right, well, we're back with Brea, and from what I understand, you guys have a new record coming out here pretty soon. You want to tell me about that?
Yeah, the record's called Guests Among Clouds. Is there 8 tracks on it is what we've decided to release 8 tracks on it. It's definitely a step up from our EP or a demo that we did. There was only actually 4 songs on it and some filler tracks and stuff. We really tried to stay away from that and stay more towards let's just get our music out. weren't so much about space this time as a lot of we kind of think pretentious prog bands do, but I think there's a level of pretentiousness that's expected from all progressive music, but we live with it, and we definitely are a part of that. But there's 7 actual songs that are going to be on the record, and it ranges from all sorts of influences. I mean, we do stuff that's just going to. There's some instrumental tracks on there, some really heavy tracks, some really chill tracks. You're going to hear our Pink Floyd, definitely come out of us and stuff. So
well, when does it come out?
We're looking at probably the end of April, the middle of April. We have a big opportunity coming up in April. We'd like to have it released by then. So
excellent. Well, how does your writing this stuff go with everyone? I mean, do you guys have a central songwriter? Does each of you bring a piece to it, or what?
Bounce ideas off of each other, and
yeah, definitely.
Somebody comes up with maybe 2 or 3 riffs, and then we all sort of fill in the blanks.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even down to where I think Mikey's brought in a few drum beats, even, and it's usually Adam picks up from Mikey a lot, being the rhythm section. But Mikey will sit down and write something that I usually can't wrap my head around, so Adam has to simplify it for me.
It's that jazz influence.
Yeah, exactly. And then everything Adam thinks about just doesn't make any sense. So those two work together really well.
Cool about this band, everybody puts their input. It's not just one person.
Yeah. We definitely have our strong suits in the band. Reed is definitely a more melodic guy. I mean, I kind of feel like I tie between what Reed and Adam do, and then obviously Adam ties between what we do. And as much as you would expect that from our particular instruments and our jobs in those instruments.
Okay, I have one last very important question for you. Are you going to release your album on vinyl?
If it financially makes sense, we definitely would do it then. And if just to kind of get to a crowd that really likes vinyl, and I would love to see some of our artwork and stuff like that on a big vinyl piece, I would absolutely love to. We'd have to reach out to somebody.
So if you've got money, give it to these guys.
Yeah.
If you have money, give it to these guys.
It needs to be there.
Yeah.
So that I can actually review it, because if it's a CD, I can't do it.
Yeah, well,
I don't own a CD player.
Well, there's even more of an incentive for us to do it then.
All right, well, speaking of which, I'm going to take the time now to take a listen to a very inspirational album of mine, I'm sure of yours too, which is Opeth's Damnation. Stick around. Nice.
Feel myself a feather on my heart. Look inside, there never was a start. Feel myself.
If you've spent any time talking to me about music, then you know that inevitably I'm going to bring up my love of progressive rock. And more specific than that, progressive metal. On the standard prog rock side of things, my favorites range from Genesis to King Crimson to mid-career Pink Floyd, Jethro Tull, all the way to Tool, and finally to the great Porcupine Tree. When I finished devouring all that Steven Wilson of Porcupine Tree had to offer, I dug deeper into his work, discovering that he had produced several albums for the band Opeth. This was several years ago, and at the time I was not very interested in any music that contained the infamous death metal Cookie Monster growl. But the recommendations that I was receiving from many sources kept telling me to listen to the Steven Wilson-produced Opeth record, Blackwater Park. That turned into some of the best advice I've ever received. Almost instantly I was converted to the church of the insanely dynamic, beautiful, evil, and complicated Opeth. Blackwater Park was their first major breakthrough success, and in my opinion, it owes a lot to Steven Wilson encouraging Michael Ackerfeld and company to expand their already very expansive sound. But in an odd twist, the follow-up to their wildly successful fifth album would be in the form of 2 full LPs released very close to one another, Deliverance and Damnation, both to be released in 2003. The odd thing was that Blackwater Park played brilliantly to the mixture of the quiet, slow European folk sound and the insanely evil, loud, growling metal. Never before had 2 distinctly different styles fused so well. Then came Deliverance and Damnation. On these 2 records, the band decided to more or less split the 2 styles. Deliverance is the closest thing in Opeth's career to a straight heavy metal album, while Damnation has 0 blast beats, 0 death metal growls, and almost no electrical instruments at all. Instead, Damnation is drenched in mellow acoustic dread, and even in a more surprising twist, it is, in my opinion, their darkest album to date. The music on this record has a very difficult job to complete. Unlike any other album the band has released, Damnation has to keep you guessing without relying on switching to the heavy stuff to keep you interested. And believe me, it works. Especially when you know that this was their first record to break the Billboard Top 200. I love explaining Opeth to the uninitiated, describing them as the kings of progressive death metal, only to spin this LP. When those poor unfortunate souls are expecting 20 minutes of loud death metal, they receive a very calm, introspective, and delicate journey. The highlight of the record to me is the song Closure. It doesn't hurt that it is the heaviest song of the lot, relatively speaking, that is. But really, nothing stands out as a highlight until like the 5th or 6th time you listen to the whole thing. There is so much going on in this album, so like every great prog album, it demands to be listened to as a complete piece. If you aren't a fan of death metal or prog metal, I'd recommend that you give this album a shot. It's spooky how seductive this thing is, and it is a fantastic gateway to appreciating a genre often laughed at or just flat out misunderstood. Oh yeah, and if you haven't lived until you've seen this thing perform live, which they do in its complete form on the DVD Lamentations. Or, you could always crowd into the metal van with me on May 18th to catch them live at the Cain's Ballroom. But all that said, Opeth's Damnation proves that you don't have to be loud to be metal. All right, so why don't you guys tell me about any kind of shows you might have coming up that people can check you out at?
The big South by Southwest Festival, we were invited to play Hoax Death Metal Stage. And if anybody that's familiar with Austin's culture at all, Hoax Death Metal Pizza is a kind of monumental place for metalheads to go visit and actually get some kick-ass pizza. They have really, really awesome pizza.
Yeah, I've been there. That is awesome that you guys are going.
Yeah, we were invited by the Texas Metal Collective, and big thank you to those guys. We're not from Texas, obviously, and they reached out to us and said, hey, we want to bump you guys up to a good slot on April 13th, so which is a Friday, and that's awesome in South by Southwest.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So.
Perfect. Any others?
And in April, Spa Metal Fest and Hot Springs, which is where we came from today, April 13th.
June 15th in Mississippi. It's another festival.
Yeah.
And any local shows, perhaps, that we can look forward to?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got some local shows in the works. I was trying to think. We do actually have one on in April 29th with Buddies in Self-Inflicted, Keith and them. I forgot about that show.
So April 29th, you're playing at the Conservatory then?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So definitely make it out. If you can't make it to Austin or Mississippi or Arkansas, which is awesome, you guys are all over the place. It sucks for us, but at least we got you then. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and talking with me, and we'll check you later, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Tune in next week. I'm going to have the local Oakland City act Venditos, and I'll be reviewing one of their close friends' vinyl, the Chloes. So make sure to check that out. All right, take it easy. Thanks, guys.